Just kind of reflect on this one a little bit. I mean, how frustrating is it to dominate time of possession, plays, offensive yards, everything, and just not be able to score touchdowns when it mattered?
It's definitely frustrating, when, you have drives going and, it's mistakes that you make on your side, on our side of the ball, that we can control, pre-snap penalties, the false starts, those type of things. But on the positive side of that, it's not a talent thing. It's things within ourselves and within the unit that that we just need to clean up and be cleaner on and be more detailed in the operation. And when we clean those things up, I see us being on top of these type of games.
Cam, it's been a while since we've spoken with you. You've started the season, you got injured, you were out for a little bit, and then you came back. What's that process been like for you? How frustrating has it been for you? And what kind of, do you feel 100% now going in when you went into this week's game?
Yeah, I feel 100%, just approaching the week, like I wasn't started even, when I was banged up or I wasn't, the guy going in to start the game, just keeping a level head and just knowing that controlling the things that I can control. And, it's not my decision for me to be the starters. It's my job to come in, prepared and ready to go whenever my number's called. And, that's all I try to do is just come in with the positive mindset and a positive attitude and just attacking every day.
Dominate in number of plays, dominate in time of possession. They get bogged down in the red zone, third downs. What do you associate those struggles with?
Like I said, just self-inflicted wounds, just whether it's a misassignment, whether it's a penalty against us, just lack of detail in the operation that comes down with me with getting us in and out of the huddle, having clear communication with all the 10 other guys on the field. And I think when we clean those mistakes up, that we'll be able to punch in the end zone and complete drives.
Do you feel like during practice, during the week, that those things are being corrected and it just doesn't show itself?
I feel like they are. It's just being able to be the calm in the storm and being able to handle adversity, and just putting it all together. And when you have all 11 guys on the field doing their job, including me, that's when you have successful plays that turn into successful drives.
Another tough loss in the Big 12, now the third one. Are you seeing the fight in your teammates around you? You talked about, maybe you're close to turning the corner. What are you seeing, from this team?
I think that's one thing you don't have to question. This team's gonna fight regardless. First quarter, the first player, the last play of the game, we're gonna fight. And, the energy in the locker room is still that same way. They're still having a positive attitude, looking forward that, just trying to go 1-0 next week. And, that's the mindset every day, go 1-0 every day. And if you keep stacking days, that will help lead you to have success on Saturday.
You had over 100 yards rushing today. I think the last time you did that was when you were at Marshall. What was working for you, I guess, in that realm? And was that kind of by design, or was some of that just because that's what they gave you?
I think, my job playing and play out is just how can I make this play successful? Whether that's taking my first read, getting off the first read, taking second, third, fourth, or checking it down, or if nothing's open, extending plays. And, whether that's to extend and throw downfield or throw it to somebody on the run, or that's everybody sticking in coverage and, me just trying to make a winning play and, get us some yards, trying to do whatever I can to, help the team, be successful. That's really just my mindset. Playing and play out is how can I make the play successful?
What did Cincinnati do differently than you had prepared for or saw on film from them?
I think they're just a great hard-working, gritty defense that keeps a lot of things in front of them. A lot of things that we expected. A couple of things that they adjusted to that we also adjusted as well. And I think if we just limit the self-inflicted wounds like we were just talking about, I think that'll help us complete some of those drives.
You were named starting quarterback coming out of camp. Didn't last long in the Jack State game until you got hit and had to leave. So is that frustrating, just knowing that you had the opportunity to be the starting quarterback and then you're sidelined for a while? Just talk us through that time period. I guess now you've gotten the ability to kind of show what you can do out there today.
I think, like I just said, it's just about controlling what you can control, and, getting hit and getting injured, that's something you can't control. And you can't control if your body, you have a tweak or something. You just got to be able to move on and, control what the situation is next, and that was just getting recovery and getting my body back healthy to get ready to go, and just having a positive mindset and positive attitude towards it all.
you guys were able to put together a 17-play drive and then a 19-play drive in the second half. What, you know, when you got that offense kind of going like that, what's that feel like for you? I mean, to be able to kind of march down the field a little bit and put together those kind of plays.
I mean, it feels good as a unit, you know, when you have, you know, continuous successful plays. And I think that just takes, you know, just all 11 guys, you know, having the correct alignment, assignment, and technique. And I think when you have 11 guys on the field doing that, that's how you create successful plays. And I think that's what it was, you know, not stopping ourselves with self-inflicted wounds like I was saying, and, you know, just playing every play independent.
Do one more.
How do the stops and starts being in games, not being in games, impact your chemistry of the wide receivers?
One more time, sorry.
How does being in games and out of games because of injuries impact your chemistry with the wide receivers?
You know, I think there was a lot of reps from spring ball, fall camp, where you get a lot of chemistry from those guys during, you know, those, 8 months leading up to the season. So, you know, you build that chemistry then, and it only builds throughout the season. But, you know, when you're not in there, you got to still be able to take those mental reps, you know, while other guys are in there, and be able to see, you know, how they react or how they adjust to this or how they react to that. You know, I think that's the biggest thing is just, you know, how can you attack the day whether or not you are the guy in there, you know, just that's really it.
All right, thanks, Cam. Thanks a lot, Cam.
Appreciate y'all.